Friends and family from around the world, this is Mike with Daily Events Worldwide, and we are on February 3rd, 2025. Welcome to another surviving day on the planet. Welcome to the Daily Do, giving you your space weather update, as well earthquakes, volcanoes, and world weather. Always starting out here looking at the last 2 days of imagery, brought to you by Solar Dynamics Observatory. We've seen multiple M-class solar flares, actually 10 of them just in the past 24 hours since last night's update, as well a large plasma filament creating a coronal mass ejection. Having a look here at the last 48 hours incoming, big fiery sunspot region and growing. Those sunspot groupings are growing closer together. Gotta keep an eye on our sun during solar cycle 25, as we are under level 2 radio blackout impacts from all of the solar flares that we saw today. There's that plasma filament that ejected from the surface of the sun. Having a look at multi-spectrum, pointing out coronal holes, 2 turning away and 1 turning in. More equatorial as well. Look at that plasma filament, bottom right-hand corner, erecting from the surface and then slapping back into the sun just before 3981 sunspot region produced an M-class solar flare. Now that thing quickly grew into a very sizable sunspot and has now fired 6 solar flares since last night. Look at that sunspot region in motion here. Wow, that thing. Look at it. Just keeps growing towards the other one, and now the northern sunspot region is moving towards it. What do you guys think so far? Solar cycle 25. Right now, we have some hefty sunspot groupings. Earth facing 3981, 3978, and as well the other 2. Current space weather conditions, level 2, moderate radio blackout impacts expected. Solar winds are coming in at 424 kilometers per second. Calming down a little bit from the coronal hole wind stream. Solar X-ray flux, look at that, 10, if not 11 now, solar flares since last night's update. Proton flux is low, geomagnetic activity is low, just ahead of our next solar storm, which we will be seeing the impacts over the next 12 hours. Coronal hole wind stream is not quite done. And then we've got our next coronal mass ejections heading towards our planet. Impact on the 6th of February. ISWA Space Prediction Spiral, there is no new CMEs to report. I did show the spiral earlier from the double shot CME in the sun short. If you haven't seen that yet, please check it out. LASCO 3, showing the last 3 days of cosmic energy since the beginning of February. We've got Mercury coming in to the backside of our sun, and we've got now multiple coronal mass ejections seen here on LASCO 3. One of them was a hefty coronal mass ejection on the backside. Here's a look at our aurora forecast for tonight and tomorrow, a little more prevalent tonight. Now, earthquakes, we're still below average. Largest last 24 hours being a 5.5, Loyalty Islands region. No deep earthquakes here. 5.4, notable earthquake there, Japan, off the coast. Bonin Islands region. As well, a rare earthquake here reported. Bering Strait, 5.0 earthquake, Diomede, Alaska, right in the middle of the Bering Strait. And look at all that activity, Aleutian Islands over to Kamchatka. As well, notable here, 4.4 earthquake reported, Port McNeill, Canada. Into the joint of the North Juan de Fuca. And then looking across the United States, rare earthquake there, 2.5 Kansas. Wyoming, a 3.0. And then here, a 3.1 earthquake, Oak Hill, Ohio. 31-kilometer depth, though. Wondering if anybody felt that earthquake today. 3.1 Ohio. That's not too far from me. Minor seismicity, Caribbean plate, Way too quiet. South America and Central. Rare earthquake here. Tunisia. Mizona. 4.8 magnitude. And the earthquakes continue through Greece, just northeast of the Santorini volcano. Still showing signs of unrest with this earthquake swarm. They have not raised their level just yet. Notable 4.6 here towards the North Pole, Svalbard. And that's the last 24 hours for earthquakes. As I said, below average, only reporting about 190 earthquakes in the 24-hour period. Average is 200 to 220. But that's the last 24 hours. Largest being a 5.5. Deepest being 280 kilometer depth. We haven't seen any deep earthquakes today compared to what we saw over the last few days. So, heads up, my friends and family. Be aware and prepared, because something's about to give. Especially when you've got all that pressure. The Mediterranean, Santorini volcano, after seeing all the active volcanic activity through North Africa and Somalia. African plate moving northward. Who knows? But our planet's changing right before our eyes, folks, and thank you so much for tuning in. Having a look at the air quality forecast brought to you by the active and erupting volcanoes. This is showing sulfur dioxide emissions, big eruptions through Mexico, and all of that air being thrown into the Gulf of Mexico, parts of Florida. Overlooking Southeast Asia, Australia, and Africa. Notable plume there east of Madagascar, Reunion Island, Mauritius. And still big plumes coming out of central regions of Africa and Somalia, as there are now 5 active volcanoes just in North Africa. Now let's have a look at world weather, starting out here looking at the temperature forecast right up until just about Valentine's Day. The deep freeze is going to be coming back for most of North America, but it's going to be a roller coaster event. Still seeing some warm Pacific temps coming in north over Alaska. But watching the long-range forecast here, some extremely cold temperatures flooding down into the United States. Below freezing parts of Florida by the 12th of February. So the February freeze is on, and as expected and forecasted here with daily events worldwide, overlooking Europe, you've got a high-pressure ridge still taking in a lot of warm air from Africa. But that's about to break down. Long-range forecast by about the 10th to the 11th of February. You're going to see those cold temperatures, most of Europe, but it's going to be a battle. So watch for extreme weather if there are any lows, and it looks like there's going to be a couple. Speaking of lows, we've got 1, 2, 3 low-pressure systems on the west coast grinding into BC, Washington, parts of Northern California, and Oregon. Over the next few days, watch for that system to race eastward, affecting the Atlantic provinces. Extreme weather possible, eastern seaboard United States, overlooking Europe and Africa. Low pressure moving through the Mediterranean. High pressure ridge coming in from the north. Going to dry things out for quite some time. And as well, low pressure system grinding through parts of South Africa still. Possible cyclone there, grazing Madagascar, and 2 cyclones spinning in the South Indian Ocean. Australia still expecting extreme weather over the next week. Multiple low pressure systems affecting you, and one of them is going to be making landfall northeast Queensland, right across the continent, folks. Strange days indeed. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. Stay aware and prepared. Stay young and have fun. And get your daily dew.